Today is the 24th of August, and we are going to talk about evacuations, evacuation lists, and go bags, maybe also pet evacuation related issues and questions. And, what's remarkable, right now is we are 1 year from the evacuation that we went through for the CZU August lightning fire, which probably many of us remember very well. And, it's a difficult time to reach a 1-year milestone like that. I think it, for people who have lost their property and have had their lives significantly altered by the fire, it's particularly difficult. And, in our community, there has been a lot of support for people to try to recover and to rebuild, and those processes are ongoing. I think it is important for us to look at what we're doing, how we prepare, to take this as an opportunity to review what did happen, what worked well, what didn't work so well. We're going to pull out an example list and critique it and take some inputs from you all about some other good ideas, what could be on a list, how to form a list. So that'll be part of this evening. What we're going to start with is some reports. So let's check in on where we are with COVID-19. And Jo Marie, are you ready to help us understand a little bit about that?
Okay, so I am getting my primary information from our local resource, which they do feed information from the CDC, but this is the County of Santa Cruz Health Services data. So there's no mystery in this information. It's just, how you interpret it and look at it. So the first thing is, as we all know, Delta virus has come back with all claws and teeth showing, and we had this surge that end of July and through most of August that has grown quite a bit. And I'm going to show a different graph in a moment, but it matched or surpassed even last July's. Last July, so almost a full year, and we went back to that volume. Now, thankfully, it appears it's being mitigated well enough that we're not going to hit what we saw in November through February, where it was this astronomical high volume, high hospitalization, high deaths, type of thing. So this is the general pattern it's gone. This is a very typical pattern for virus activity. And I'm going to show you how it's looked in the last 14 days. So really narrow the scope down just to the last 14. And you can see, actually it's more than 14, but you can see back into May, we were, doing pretty good. We had a few here and there. And then, right after the 4th of July, the trajectory just went off the charts. And we had 64% increase in rates. And this is why the county did come out with a change after relaxing things, did go back to when you're in a county building to be masking despite vaccination. They did see some breakthrough infections, 2 people who had been vaccinated, but the primary people that were getting sick are the non-vaccinated population. But good news in the horizon, because here it's projected to be going down, and it's coming down fairly quickly. These triangles right here are projected, and it's not complete data, but it's coming down. So it does seem like we've peaked out again, and we're on the right trajectory back down, which is indicative that, you know, we have started taking appropriate precautions to mitigate some of this. So, you know, sad that happened. You know, Delta is not the only alternative virus of COVID that's out there. There's Lambda and one other one that hasn't quite made it into the US very strongly, thankfully. But, you know, they didn't think Delta was going to come here like it did either and sweep across the nation. I think the rate of the sweep across the nation was quite dramatic. It was very opportunistic and really took hold and found those weak links and just kept jumping and jumping and jumping, and people had relaxed. You know, they thought, oh, we're, you know, all vaccinated. That's what the story, you know, that we were told would mitigate the issue, and it found the weak point and got in there. And that's very typical for virus. This is not unusual. The influenza back in the 1918s, similar patterns. It's not matching exactly, but it's up and down until everything, they kind of get a good handle on it. Further details about the type of patients that are get the right word, Joe, people who have come down with COVID in recent, the age groups hasn't really changed at all. The highest age group is 20 to 29 years old. This is the entire pandemic. That age group is still the largest group of being influenced with COVID. Is there a reason for it? Not sure. You know, obviously the elderly population do get affected because of their immune systems being worn out and tired. But it's interesting that it found this age group, you know, and really jumped on it. It's nearly 50-50. It's not exactly, but a few more females in regards to gender. Geography is still unchanged from what we've seen before. I'm just going to call over to the this location area. It's 54% down in South County, and there's reasons for that. It's how the living style is compared to other areas of the county. There are a lot more people in the household. There's multi-households within a small footprint, and so, you know, the exposure rate, and that is the #1 transmission, is person to person within the same household. Yes, we protect ourselves going out into, you know, the stores and things like that, but really the #1 transmission is person to person within the same household. And Mid-County and North County are about the same percent, about 20%. And then there's still about 1% under investigation. And then looking at equity, you know, is it hitting the same group or not? Well, based on geography and knowing how how our ethnicities are laid out in the county, it follows along how the geography is of the county, and huge Latinx population of 51%. And a lot of those are housed in the South County, and then followed by the white Caucasian group, and then trickle down to other groups, and very small. Hospitalizations, you could see, of course, we went up. And I'm hoping this kind of teeters down instead of the way it's projected right now. It doesn't look really good, but I'm hoping it goes down again, as you know, the 14-day change showed. Vaccines, we just heard yesterday that Pfizer has approved. It was a FDA fully approved, so it's no longer under the emergency declaration. And also, it's the booster injections that's been discussed has been approved for immunocompromised people. But there's chatter as well that possibly in late October, early November, the entire population might be offered a booster. They've been seeing that when they have been giving boosters, the titers that to fight off the COVID exponentially have risen. So, you know, it seems like this third shot, or it would be second shot for J&J, has really, you know, made you Superman or Superwoman, super person, in regards to being able to fight off COVID. That's what this science is saying. Don't know if that's going to translate to, you know, you and I in the community. I know the immunocompromised people, what's defined as immunocompromised, how far are they going to take it? I don't know. I have not seen that itemized out of what that bucket is qualified as. Because diabetes, you know, huge population has diabetes. That's an immune compromised situation. Are they going to be in that bucket? I don't know. And I haven't heard any of that information yet. And, you know, we'll see how it all shakes up. Any questions? Did I get everything, Tammy, that you thought I needed to cover?
You covered a lot. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to stop screen sharing.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's move on to another report. Let's talk a little bit about CERT. Liz, do you have anything you'd like to share about CERT this evening?
Sure. Since almost everybody here is on the CERT, the local CERT team, we have a new large wooden enclosure. The metal enclosures are gone, and so we have a more secure area for our stuff that we keep outside for lack of space. So that's pretty much been completed. I have keys. That's what's important to me. And when appropriate, I will get keys to the appropriate people on the SLVEN board as well. So that's kind of a new and exciting thing. Another thing that's coming up, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to manifest yet. We have our second meeting tomorrow. There is a move afoot to bring a testing facility, a COVID testing facility, to the valley, because taking an hour one way to get down into Santa Cruz to get a test is just a problem, and especially for people like grade school students and things like that, and people now with, as to hook on to what Jo Marie was saying, one of the issues is that compulsory vaccines are coming through now from certain, it's either compulsory vaccinations or it's weekly testing. And so we need a facility up here where people can get tested quickly and easily. So we are working on trying to get a location. And part of that is probably going to involve help from CERT with regard to possibly traffic management and some things like that, because we just don't know how big this thing is going to be. But I want to give everybody a heads up that something's on its way. Joe Marie, you had a question? Mute. You're muted, sweetie.
Sorry.
That's okay. It happens to all of us.
I behaved with myself and put myself on mute. Well, the valley has become less available testing because PAMF is also closing their urgent care in
Exactly.
Scotts Valley. So there's that. But I did see that, who was it? One of the pharmacies were going to start testing.
Okay. Yeah. All I know is
blanking on which one, so I don't want
okay.
to say.
Yeah. I don't know who all's involved with this. I should get more information tomorrow because we're having another meeting. But MCR is one of the locations that is vying to provide this testing. And so there's a whole lot that's not known. We are talking about a self-testing or a self-doing test. Evidently, this is all, county health is involved. The folks with Vax the Valley are involved. So all some of you I've spoken with about that, and so far everything that we've been concerned about has been resolved. I'm just not sure where it's going to all come out, but I'll keep you posted because I think that's going to be Quest is testing. Okay, yes. So I don't know where this is going to all go. It's good to know though that there may be some other testing avenues, and I'm sure the people in the mix of this will be knowledgeable about those points. I think I've been included mainly because of my association with coordinating volunteers to support non-medical services that can be done by volunteers. So you'll be hearing more, and obviously one of the big issues is going to be safety for the folks, for my volunteers. So you can be rest assured that I'm, it's not my goal to put anybody at risk. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's the most important stuff I can think of right now that's coming out of CERT, or that. Oh, and also I'm exploring right now the what's going to happen with Halloween. So I haven't gotten a response back from the person I contacted, but I am on that. That's always been something we've done for the last few years. It didn't do it last year because it was off. So I don't know what's going to happen this year. So there's still going to be opportunities to volunteer though. So I appreciate those of you that have been making yourself available for that. Okay, thank you.
Right, and so just to make the point, the Halloween we're referring to is trick-or-treating in downtown Felton, which has been a long tradition, and in recent years, except for last year in particular, we've had volunteers help with crossing guards to help the kids and families travel safely around downtown Felton for Halloween. So yeah, we'll see what happens and see whether we're going to be on this year with that event.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I'm going to step away, but just everybody know I can hear what's going on.
Okay. Let's switch then. Mikhail, you have a question. Is that related to CERT?
It's a quickie for what Liz was talking about this Halloween. Who ultimately makes that decision? Is it the Felton Business Association?
I don't
Or is
think
it Chief Gray?
I believe it. I believe that ultimately the decision to do it will be Felton Business Association, but then subsequent to that will be whether Chief Gray wants us out. And I'm guessing if it can be done in a safe manner, he will want that to happen.
Okay, thank you.
So I haven't heard. We still have 2 months, little over 2 months to pull it together. So I'm starting now. And we'll let you know when I know. So
Thank you.
mm-hmm.
Okay. And our other traditional source of reports would be anything related to Aries. Dan, what do you have for us?
Yeah, well, coming this Saturday is our Horsemen's Association endurance ride. And we, one thing that was a little surprising this time is that is the amount of people interested in participating in this. I arbitrarily set the limit at 30 people, and we almost immediately ran that out. So the organizers have been little challenge to find position for everybody, which is useful because the next thing that's coming up is the triathlon at the end of September, and I'm going to contact the organizers and see how many people they can use. And since I'm organizing that, I really don't want to try and find a lot of make work for people to do. You know, let's have 3 people staffed at a location that needs only 1 kind of thing. So, but that's a good thing. I mean, there's a lot of interest. We have a lot of new hams that are interested and eager to get out and actually do something, you know, emergency preparedness related. And so it's better than having 5 people sign up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all.
Thanks very much.
Diana Stu has a question.
Dan, does the Horsemen's Association race, is that, it seems like there's a big buildup of activity on Graham Hill Road at the Horsemen's Association there on the road. Are they connected with the race you're talking about? Or do you know?
Could be. John Murray may know better, but I would think that is the case.
Last weekend, there was a large event as well. And so it's been going, yeah, there's going to be a couple weeks of lots of activity on Graham Hill.
Thank you.
It'll be a lot of people, I think, come in the night before, if I'm not mistaken. They don't try and arrive Saturday morning and get all ready to go, and then, you know, for like a 7 a.m. start or whatever it is.
And they each come with a crew for this fireworks endurance race. They each come with a crew that helps care for the animals and the rider too. I don't know if anybody comes with a masseuse, but you know, yeah. Yeah.
Positions open.
Yeah. But yeah, it's quite and it's sanctioned by the state Horsemen's Association as well. So there's lots of T's to cross and I's dotting and things like that. So, but yeah.
You can see a big buildup of the activities, and they keep putting more and more obstacles and different things out in that giant, gorgeous pasture they have. And
Actually, that's my sister-in-law's doing. She's been that was the large event last weekend, was the obstacle course. And, you know, having a horse go through these obstacles they don't know, and how do they handle themselves, and you get points, and it's a whole circuit of, you know, these people go around California doing these obstacle courses. So yeah.
Sounds like an area to avoid for the next couple of weeks.
Yep. And then, but interesting enough, the state parks, you know, the last few times I've been driving Graham Hill, all have the sign out saying park full. So lots of people exploring in the parks as well. And camping, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news.
It is and isn't, you know, it's scary.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Jo Marie. So let's move on to and talk about our subject this evening, which is evacuations. September is National Preparedness Month, so we're going to give you all some stuff to think about and do during the month of September. So what's interesting, Jim, you were saying earlier before we started this meeting that some of the folks who were evacuated for the Calder fire had very little evacuation notice. What's on my mind is, and I don't know anything particularly about you know, the Dixie fire or the Calder fire, is whether whether those communities use Zone Haven that we've got for our use in this area. I don't suppose anyone has any insight into that.
I think they do.
Yeah. There was a documentary recently released talking about the campfire. So that's Paradise, you know, and talking about lessons learned and stuff. And interesting enough, they already had this zone concept in place prior to the campfire. And it still was a challenge to get people out in time because of the expediency of the fire line, where it just kept moving so quickly, they couldn't keep up with it. So they had, it's a very interesting documentary, and it's through YouTube, and it's interesting, you know, what they had done right and had learned from a prior fire to that, and then yet were so devastated by the campfire. It kind of changes your thinking even more than just getting prepared. It, you know, how does it keep, you know, the adage of, you know, you can't call 911 and expect them to respond. You really do have to own it yourself and have your plans and know your zones, but also if you have a inkling of needing to leave. You know, it's a good documentary.
Do you have the name of that YouTube?
I do, and I can post it in the chat.
Thank you.
Well, I was just going to suggest that, you know, a good exercise would be for us to go to the Zone Haven website and check out your what is your current zone. Of course, you know, the zones could shift again if we were faced with an incident, and if the, you know, depending on the purpose of the evacuation, right, just like what we saw for the debris flow evacuations where the maps were redrawn, maps could get redrawn again. But it's useful to take a moment and look around and see what that's like. I'll just go ahead and see if I can do this. Share my browser. So I'm on community.zonehaven.com, and you know, you can type your address in the address field, and it'll find your zone. I'll just kind of zoom in a little bit on Felton, since I'm a Felton resident, and I've got Highway 9 here in the middle, bisecting. It is Graham Hill Road on to the right, and Felton Empire off to the left. One of I'm in this zone, Felton E03, E003, which is actually a substantially larger zone than I remember being in the past, and it looks like it actually includes the high school, elementary school, middle school property as well, and also spans across San Lorenzo River and catches a lot of the communities on the other side of 9. Downtown Felton looks like it's primarily one zone, E7. Looks like we have 2 different zones that head up the mountain. Folks who live in this area could probably tell me better. One of these probably leads to the quarry area. Looks like Forest Lakes is down here. Felton EO13 is quite a big zone.
Do we know what these zones are for?
I do not.
Okay, or are these
for
just
their
zones?
purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flooding is a different issue than fire, and so it's good to.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I wish we knew more about it. You click
Right.
on a zone, then it pops up this additional information about it. What's nice is I noticed that down here it says temporary evacuation points, so it does look like there is at least some consideration for future TEPs that
Yes.
would be declared. And that's good to know. So anyway, it's quite interesting to look at the map like this and study, like, where's the borders. Some of these are borders on roads. Some of them are borders on streams. Some of them just look like they're drawn around certain properties, but you know, we don't get a lot of information as to the particulars of a particular, you know, why is it going in a particular way. Although in my case, I could see things like, well, there's a ridge here, and then maybe they're following a ridge, and that's part of the dividing line. So anyway, it's always good to take a look and see what's every so often that the site exists. You can get to it, you've bookmarked it, and you know how to be appraised of, you know, what's your zone.
And the zones do change. So that was one thing I learned. I just rechecked myself. I was BEN E004, and now I'm 005. And so that changed. And it's probably population driven as well as egress and, you know, access as well, and risk. I don't know. but I was surprised that I had changed because I received nothing telling me my zone had changed. And I would have been operating under, you know, my old zone. So it does not hurt to periodically check that.
I suspect it changes seasonally.
Hmm.
All right. So that's
I
where
wonder
I
if
was
the
at.
E stands for evacuation.
Maybe.
E00.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. It looks like they all start with some 3-letter prefix like Ben for Ben Lomond, FEL for Felton, ZAY for Zianti, etc. Then they have dash and then E. Maybe they all do that way. Boulder, CRZ Cruz for Santa Cruz, I guess.
Certainly last year they were using this exclusively to tell people to evacuate
Mm-hmm.
rather than a particular threat announcement.
So, you know, their website says it is a reliable source of evacuation information and resources, but it doesn't define what type of evacuation, like to Liz's point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about evacuation. Let's talk about prep for evacuation and lists. Liz, you earlier this evening you held up a piece of paper. What list do you have there?
What I have here is the official Felton area CERT home emergency kit list and vehicle emergency kit list, as well as suggestions for a first aid kit to be part of your disaster supply kit. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to share it, but this is a form that most of you have seen before. But I just thought if we wanted to reference it, I would have it. So, and some of these items I have in my Go kit are in the Go kit I'm using for here. There would be other things if if this was a personal Go kit. There would be other things because I remember last year when we had to evacuate. The first thing I did was go for my meds and just started throwing stuff in a bag because that's one of the most important things for me to take with me when I go. And we still wound up having to come. Dan was able to get back and grab some other stuff. So that's definitely something I recommend. If you have medications, give thought to that and get that. Think of how you're going to handle that. Like I said, in my case, I could just go and grab a bin and dump it in a bag, and that worked. But we had 30 minutes or so to get out. If the flames are lapping up the side of the river over here, that would be a very different situation. So, but anyway, that's what I had. So we have some reference information here as well as other stuff for conversation.
Yeah. So what I've got is I took an evacuation list that I had created, and I'll try to share this. So this
Now,
is
we
just,
talking about evacuation or emergency home kit kind of thing? Oh, you're going to show us. Okay. All right. Yes.
Well, this one in particular, it, I had heard about this concept before about
Yes.
forming, like the list that you have, which is the CERT list, is a nice list because it covers a lot. It's sort of any kind of multi-purpose use list, right? So,
Right.
and with that, you can pack a go bag, or you can pack your car. You can have things that actually are like in your, like for example, in your vehicle all year round, right? Like first aid kits and so forth. And what I found, particularly with the CZU fires, the irony of that event was I was actually out of town. I was all the way on the East Coast when I was on the East Coast when the lightning happened, and I was still on the East Coast when we got the evacuation, the warning notification. So the entire execution was up to my husband, and which probably saved me a lot of stress, because if I was at home, I'd be running around the house just going crazy, likely. And so the most functional thing for me to do was to work on a list, and then just communicate that list to my husband, which also then reduced the stress on him, because all he had to do was look at the list. And the concept I had heard of before was a list that was based on available time. And I thought, well, at that time we had several days to with essentially warning, so we had reasonable time. But I decided to go ahead and approach it in the same format. And maybe some people have seen a similar kind of structure, and maybe the actual, say, number of minutes might be different, but the concept I think still holds true, which is you start with the short list of what would you have to grab if you only had a few minutes to get out. And so that's why I started, I've called it here 15 minutes. And just not to put too fine a point on it, the left column is things to take, and the right column is things to do, because they're kind of two different kind of categories of stuff, right? So here's my list of like things to take, what you want to grab, right? You want to have your wallet, your ID, you want to have, your money, your credit cards. You're gonna want to have your phone, but you're gonna want to have your charging cables, or because it's no good if your phone runs out of batteries, right? You're gonna want your keys, and obviously your car keys and your house keys, but and maybe you've got some other keys for offsite storage or your office or something. You're gonna need those too. Your medications, like Liz stated, you're going to want to make sure you've got those with you. Glasses and contacts, reading glasses. You wear contacts, but you want to have your backup glasses. You've got any computers or laptops at home and their cables. You're going to want to have those. Vital documents, depending on how much time and how difficult it is to dig out documents that are important to you, you're going to need to figure out what those are, what those mean to you, and be able to get them. So that's specifically one of those categories where if you can get yourself organized in the home so that you put your documents in a place where they all go and it's easy for you to get to, and you don't have to fuss too hard to get them. If you had to run around to 5 different places in your house looking for your documents, you will likely go crazy before you get out. So do yourself a favor and try to be self-organized. Yes, Liz?
One of the preparedness hints on this is to scan all those things and put them on a thumb drive, so that all you have to do is grab the thumb drive.
That is
just
perfect.
a helpful hint idea. So
Right.
this is a great.
Another idea. is you could put things on the cloud as well.
Right. In fact, like I mentioned, I have here like computer backup drives. Maybe you have things that are on literally a like a USB drive, and maybe you've got them on a thumb drive, or maybe, yeah, you can scan it and upload it to the cloud. Perfectly good idea. We do that too. Joe Marie?
I think Bill's had his hand up before myself.
Sure. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay,
Can't
I
see
just
everyone.
wanted to bring up a challenge with documents. Basically, I've been, using the cloud too, but originals of like birth certificates and adoptions are hard to replace.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge we found during evacuation was making sure we kept them in a safe place so we could restore them after evacuation. And if anyone has any great ideas for how to do that, I'm very interested, because we did lose a few things during the evac.
What do you mean by a safe place? Well, I mean, like, is it something where like you spilled coffee on something accidentally, or it just got lost in the shuffle?
It got lost.
Hmm.
So being organized, and when you take off, some of the things, if you're not careful, might not get restored after an evacuation.
Well, I have excuse me.
Sure.
I have an idea. I mean, you could get a fireproof small safe, or you could get a safe deposit box if you're really concerned about those documents.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, we do have both of those, and it just, I'm trying to think of an organizing method for like something in the car to make sure that things don't get moved around too much, so that we can go back into it and make sure we have it when we get back home.
Yeah, if they're archival, a lot of cars nowadays have that extra in the very back trunk. They have like an extra kind of trap door arrangement where you keep like your spare tire and other things like that. If you keep that in a strong case, or wrapped in plastic or whatever in there, it will stay with the car. It won't get, taken out in the camp or whatever. It would be kind of a safe place as long as your car is safe.
Thank you.
What I was going to mention about is when you're taking all of these IT type of equipment, phones, computers and things like that, they all work on passwords. And if you have a password list, make sure you include that, because you are going to forget it in the world of a crisis. Heck, you just had to change it, and are you going to remember it in when you're stressed to the max? So password lists to all the things are very helpful as well, at least in my world.
Right. Just in a comment about passwords. I mean, I certainly know of friends and family members who do have their physical lists of passwords, and in the last couple of years, I have converted over to electronic password software.
Right.
And there are several out there, and they're all excellent. But there is it takes a little time to get to be used to using them, and to feel that you can be confident to use them. Right. Their concept is that you have one master password, or these days what they say is use a passphrase. Right. For example, a sentence that you know and that you can type reliably. Forget having to know separate digits and exclamation point marks and cap, no cap. Just a long phrase that you can Remember easily works just as well, by the way.
If
And
the
then
systems allow
migrate.
that.
Yeah, and then migrate your passwords off of your lists and into your password manager, and become familiar with that, because yeah, you don't want to be stuck without your passwords, as you all very well know.
They, at least the one I use has a feature that you can actually make a file that is just all of the passwords.
Mhm.
So if you wanted to take that and put it on a thumb drive and stick it in a safe deposit box or something.
Then you could have like an external copy of that.
Yeah.
Somewhere safe. Very good. Now,
one idea I had when you were talking about the 15 minutes and running, or Liz was running around throwing stuff in a bag, I thought, you know, it should also think about the bags. You know, suitcases are the typical thing you think about, but a backpack or a duffel bag might be more convenient if you're just running around, you know, randomly throwing things in a container.
They're also kind of squishable if they're a duffel bag.
Yeah.
So they can fit in odd places.
Because our grab and go bag might be a duffel bag, but maybe we have another empty duffel bag.
Right. Well, you know, what's interesting, and the reason why I did this on this list is I've actually listed a go bag in the list. And the meaning of that is I already have my go bag packed. So, and if you do, that makes it all the easier, right? Because I've already got in here a change of clothes, a pair of old shoes that I'm not wearing anymore, but still fits me. I actually have some like copies of like accounts that like the account numbers I have like written on certain cards. I wrote down the 800 numbers for all my credit cards. So, you know, it's like, okay, if I lose my credit card, at least I'll have the 800 number to be able to call the credit card company and tell them I lost my card. So I've got a bunch of stuff in my go bag already packed, but you know, I don't have my all these other things aren't in my go bag. Like my wallet's not in my go bag, my phone's not in my go bag, my laptop's not in my go bag. There may be some extra space in here for me to do that. So I think there is something to be said about you know, taking a general list of about for evacuations and putting together a bag. And I'll come back to this bag in a little bit because there's a couple things I want to point out about it. I just also wanted to mention that with respect to the 15-minute plan under this do column, my recommendation is that you keep your vehicles always half a tank or more full. Really what that means is a life practice. It's not because you expect to be evacuated tomorrow. What it means is that, you know, you're going about your life and you know, you glance down at your gas tank, and if your gas tank is less than half, well, consider stopping on your day, whatever you're doing, and just fill it up. And if you make that a practice, you'll find that anytime you want to get in your car, you're already gassed up. You can get to where you're going. And that is one of the things that can help out in one of these emergencies. You don't have to panic because now that you've packed your vehicle full of your stuff, you don't have enough gas to make it to the next gas station, or you won't be fighting with everyone else who's trying in that panic moment also to gas up before they leave. So that's a little life tip I want to share with you all. Bracken, yeah.
Yeah, I had maybe a couple of things to add to that do list.
Sure.
And because I know from somebody that had their house not burned, but very close to the fire, they had left their windows open and they had smoke damage inside their house. And so I think that's an important thing to do, is make sure all your windows are closed. And if you can, take the curtains down as well. So those are a couple of items that I would recommend for that. if you have
Right.
time.
Some of these things might be when you have more time to do
Yeah.
it. I like close the windows. That's a good one. This other one I want to
But
mention.
yeah,
to
maybe
call out.
if you had an hour, you could take the curtains down as well, right? So they recommend that,
Right.
the fire department. So
And I believe the fire department recommends putting a sign in the window saying you have left and how many people
yeah,
have left.
it's this one. Can everybody see that?
Yeah,
Let's see. It depends.
Prepared, not scared, right?
Yeah,
That
prepared, not scared.
goes. You fill it out on the back and put it on your window or your door. Yeah, prepared. Does everybody know about this prepared, not scared pamphlet?
I'm going to stop sharing a moment so you can hold that
So
up again.
it's this one.
These,
it's from the Fire Safe Council.
Is it backwards?
no,
No,
it's fine.
Just for you.
Okay. So it's from, can you read that?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
This is what we were distributing for that
Yeah.
Saturday that we distributed, where all over the valley. And there are a bazillion of those in my office. So if you need one, let me know. Maybe I can find a PDF of that, but I can get you something. It's very dense, info dense, but it's very good. So
Yeah, you can pick and choose what you really need to take out of that whole pamphlet.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I wanted to say about notifying out of area family about your plan. What's best is if you have some family or friends who are completely out of area, like out of state, where you can maybe make them be the hub of information, not just for you, but for your whole family, because so that, you know, if you evacuate, you notify them. You rely on all your other family members to contact them. And that will just to help streamline communication about what's up with you, where you've gone, whether you're well, whether you need assistance, do notify your family. Let's look at the situations where you have a little bit more time. So again, this is a little bit arbitrary, like 1 hour, 4 hours, it might be, and I've got 3 days. So kind of depends on how well organized you are, of course. But so I put down in the 1 hour category. Well, maybe I've got some extra clothes that I'm going to be able to grab. Maybe I want to make sure that I have some protective gear. Mask, gloves, and boots is not just for the people who are usual gung-ho volunteers for this kind of thing. Everyone might, you might need a mask to survive the smoke, right? You might need gloves if you're trying to move heavy stuff around and you just want to protect your hands. You're going to need strong, good shoes, right? So there's no reasons why those things can't, for example, exist, in a kit ready to go for you to just grab and have. You're going to want to have water with you, first aid kit, batteries. This particular list, I started thinking about, well, if you had more time, what other valuables are important in your house that you have the opportunity to take? Maybe you do have some family photos you want to grab, etc. Maybe you want to snag a copy of your homeowner's policy. This is another one of those great ones where if you have the document scanned, uploaded to a cloud account, because you might want to refer to those as things progress. I'm always I also want to make sure like I don't have any drops in any bills that I'm paying. Of course, doing online bill pay is another good practice to get into. Pet supplies. Okay, so pets were obviously in the 15-minute section. And you're going to want to make sure that you have everything that your pets need. Let's circle back to that in a few moments. And in the do category, particularly with a fire, if you have any kind of fuels that you store around your house, so a barbecue propane tank is one of them, gas cans for your tools would be one. You want to make sure that that those fuels are moved away from your house as much as possible. We've heard that it's helpful if you turn on your exterior lights of your house before you leave, so that any first responders who come into the area at nighttime have a slightly easier time maneuvering around properties. Okay, so here's a repeat on closed window, take down curtains, and that Prepared Not Scared booklet that has information you can post in the window of your house. 4 hours. Okay, then you can really kind of go deeper on some of these things. One of the things that we had made a mistake about when evacuating was we had an extra computer monitor would have been really great if we had grabbed it, or my husband forgot his headset, so he was trying to work, and then he didn't have his headset to be able to do a Zoom call. Maybe you have work-related items. I had a neighbor who's works in a law office, was trying to continue his law work. He forgot his suits, so he was trying to come back to get suits out of his closet, right? So it just depends on you what your situation is, but don't overlook a situation where where we were out for many days, and many of us were trying to continue on with our jobs as much as we possibly could, and then to find that you're without the things you need is just adds extra stress. And in this bigger time category, I did add what are you going to do if you can't find a friend to stay with, or you can't find a hotel room? Are you going to need camping gear, or are you going to go down to an evacuation shelter, and you're going to want to have some of the stuff that you already use for camping? Don't forget those. Great idea to empty your refrigerator, particularly in light of what I think this was a very tough lesson, particularly for those folks who were really kept out of their homes for a lot longer, particularly, a lot of our Boulder Creek neighbors whose homes did not burn, but then they couldn't return to their homes for such a long time, and their refrigerators just became just a total disaster of their own. And notably, at least I've noticed in my homeowner's policy, when it's recently renewed, they are excluding refrigerators now. So you are responsible. If you've been notified of evacuation, your refrigerator is not going to get covered. So that means if you get notified of any evacuation, we darn well better empty our fridges. Otherwise, we're just going to come back to a mess, and it's going to be on us. And I apologize, I can't see if anybody has a hand up, so I'll go ahead and just unmute and speak.
I do.
Sure.
Well, I know also some people that turn the power off to their house with their refrigerator still full of food, and we never lost power.
Right, and maybe we won't lose power. And we could be so lucky. I also put here, unplug, and I've got, some things listed here only because I'm also concerned about brownouts, or, powers coming off and back on again, and damaging the electronics in my appliances, because I hate to have those begin to malfunction afterwards.
I do have a question. If you empty your refrigerator, where do you put the food? Do you just throw it out in the yard?
Well, I think what that means is I got to pack it in a bag and I got to take it with me and I got to throw it away somewhere else. Because
Mhm.
it's, you know, I mean, if you throw it in a trash can, then it's just going to sit there and stew in your trash can for a long time and could
Mhm.
attract a lot of, you know, critters. I'm not
Diana,
sure. You know, it's a tough one.
Diana,
just got-
Sue, and Bracken have their hands up.
Yeah, sure.
I just thought I have a couple of large ice chests that I could use for that.
Mm.
Yeah, if we're in the position to, you know, if you were already looking to, you know, take food with you, that would be an option. Sure.
It is a
Diane, Sue?
balancing act because you may, oh, I'm sorry. Because you may have not a lot of space in your car.
Yeah.
That's right.
Diana,
Think,
Diana,
Diana, Sue, and then Liz.
What
Mhm.
happened at my house was that we didn't lose power like Dan is talking, but my refrigerator burned out and was starting to, the freezer overheated and the refrigerator went dead. And the linoleum underneath the freezer is all, I mean, if we hadn't gotten back in a couple of days, there would have been a fire, but we never lost power.
Hmm.
It was a strange thing.
Liz?
Yes, I was gonna address that sometimes what we do here is dependent on the nature of the threat. Because if I'm having a flood problem, I'm not needing, I know that flooding here only lasts at most a day and a half, maybe 2 days. So I'm not so concerned about leaving my refrigerator hooked up and the power on and all of that. I have 2 freezers downstairs that we sat up on blocks to minimize flood water issues. But again, it depends what is the threat, and what you can predict about that. Because yes, if you're going to be gone for days and days and days, then that's another thing. So it really have to think about what the threat is. That was my point.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that. Well, and then finally, I've got the, you know, the advanced preparation to-do list. So if you've got multiple days, then you've got maybe some more time to go a bit deeper into each of these. So I've got, you know, pack a go bag for each person and pet in your household. Take photos or videos of the contents of your house, right? Depends if for example, if it's a fire or a flood. Locate or list all the valuables that you have if you haven't already done so. And think about all the documents that you would want to have. List and locate them. Scan your documents and upload them to a cloud account. Here's the empty refrigerator again. And around your property, remove brush piles, debris, dead plants, trash. Like a lot of this, you know, is more of like that's probably the time frame to take care of that is, you know, weeks and months before you need to, right? So this again just speaks to how are we living our lives and are we doing a good job of keeping after ourselves? You know, work a project and the project's not done until you clean up after yourself, and your future self will thank you for the effort you do to keep your you know your home and your property tidy. So one of the things I just glossed over on this was related to pets. So let's talk a bit about pets and evacuation for pets. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just kind of open it up to anyone to contribute. I don't actually happen to have any pets currently, so I'm not the most informed, but maybe some of you know some of the trends.
Well, there's one thing I can recommend that I recently discovered. If you have cats and you're looking for a portable litter box, there are now litter boxes you can buy, and I have seen them at Pet Pals over on Soquel, but they may be elsewhere as well, that are made of basically very coarse, pulpy cardboard. And you can get them in different sizes, and you can set it inside like a 13-gallon garbage can size trash bag to line the outside, and put your litter on the inside and close the bag over the litter box when your kitty isn't using it. And then when it starts to get gross and mungy, it's completely recyclable. You can throw it away in its bag. You can probably bury it out back somewhere. It's that recyclable if you have the pulpy box and some sort of cardboard or wheat-based litter.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned about this since the fire, when I was trying to accommodate me and my cat and his kennel and his litter box inside a tent at the Watsonville Fairgrounds. So I would like to throw that out there for you cat people, because just looking at that stuff that they had along with the pulpy boxes, like I can see such a better system than what I tried to get by with last summer. So I recommend you check that out.
Mm-hmm.
This is a relatively new product, and I don't know if it's, I don't know what market forces are driving it, but I've been looking for something like that for years and couldn't figure out how to make it. And finally there, you can get the stuff, retail at least one pet store in town, probably other feed stores as well.
Well, I was challenged with 3 cats and going to a location with 3 cats. And those, 3 and 3 was not a happy family. They didn't know each other. And one of my cats, which totally surprised me, refused to use the kitty box because she's an indoor-outdoor cat, but she does her business outside. And I didn't realize she had become anti-box, and tried everything. She wouldn't do it. And finally, she relieved herself on me in frustration, trying to tell me, Mom, I want to go outside. I ended up, it was, what's the better thing for her? She was acting like a caged animal. I just let her outside. She came right back in. No harm. And so thankfully, she was okay with that, but other cats could, get a little freaked and disappear. So, but it was like, my heart could not handle her being like a caged animal and, type of thing. So I learned about that. What alternative do I have? I don't know. And if I had to go to a shelter with my 3 cats, I don't know what I could do with her. It may be, you have to kind of figure it out, but it definitely challenged me. It was.
I have an idea.
What's that?
What about training your cat with a harness and leash?
I tried that. I tried doing that because it was right before the fire started. I had gotten 2 kittens, and I was trying to keep them all indoors to acclimate them. And so I was trying to put her on a leash and take her outside to go potty, that's, so I kind of had some idea of what she was going to do to me. But she just laid down and would not take care of her, business. Not like a doggy, where you can just take them outside and they know what to do. And so it was a definite challenge, and kind of perplexing, still is,
I
Because
actually talked.
I've tried a separate box. I tried a brand new box, just for her. No, no. Because I thought it was the kitten, in her. No.
Oh,
So
boy.
I'm just like, so I would take her with me, but if she wanted to go and needed to do her business, but in a shelter, you can't quite do that. So, I am looking at some alternative housing, capabilities too. So.
Well, I think if you have any animals, you need to think about your plan, because I know for us, it was the chickens. I had chickens in 3 stages of maturity. So the chicks went with us because we were going to a friend's house. So we had to think about that. And then we thought of a way to bring one set of juvenile chickens with us, but the general group just stayed home. And for the first few days, Dan was able to go and feed and water them because he was providing services to the fire department, and so he was allowed to get back in here. Well, when that stopped, so did that. So I was so grateful for the folks from Equine Evac and the people that were providing support to the animals. Even though we're right down here in downtown, we couldn't get to them. So we'll try to come up with a better system, but we also had cat and dog issues. Our cat was a kitten, so he wound up living in an overlarge dog carrier for most of it. We would let him out when we could, but same problem, not letting your animals out, and the dog had to be walked. But thankfully we were staying with friends who are very accommodating, so it was not a problem. If we'd had to be sheltered, I don't know what we would have done, especially given all the work that Dan and I were trying to do outside of dealing with the evacuation. I have to say, kudos and lots of thank yous to my sister, who kind of kept an eye on that part of the home thing, and taking, walking the dog and letting the cat loose. And so he wasn't, so that was that. But I really recommend, have a cat carrier for every, I'm sure you do, have a cat carrier for every cat you have in the house, because they're probably not gonna want to be closed up in a carrier with other animals, or other carrier. My dog is too big to put in a carrier. She has to that we could carry. So she was on leash. Fortunately, she was fairly well behaved around that. But I know one of the things that we learned at the when we had the fires down up at the summit, this is back in 09, 08 and 09, was the issue with people training training any animal, but in this case it was horses, to get in a trailer. And the idea that you wouldn't train your horse to get in a trailer was just beyond me. But I know the people that were doing the hauling, that was sometimes a problem. So in the middle of all this, having to, I know in one instance it was a mare and a colt that they were trying to get that had not been trailer trained. So, you know, it happens to all of us with our pets. One of the things I was really glad of is I have a go bag for my dog, and now it's a go bag for both of them. They can share it, and it's ugly and it's easy to find because it's ugly. And that's one of my recommendations is for stuff like this, get something. And Goodwill is, or thrift stores are full of these things. So go and find something that's sturdy and ugly, and it will make it a lot easier to find when you go for the back of the closet to look for it. So anyway, that's one of my hints with pets is it, and take toys. Don't just take food and their bowl. Take toys. Take whatever's going to be familiar for them. That, I mean, obviously you can't take the couch, but you know, take some things. You know, even a shirt you wore that is sweaty, that will be very comforting to a dog, because then they have you with them. So think about that. I mean, think about your animal's welfare and what you need to do that, to make them comfortable as well. Because if you do, then you're going to probably have fewer behavioral problems. And it's sort of like dealing with kids. Kids are going to act out when they get into a situation like this because they're unfamiliar and they're scared, and your dog or your cat's going to be the same way. I don't know about your goldfish, but anyway, that's my comments.
Yeah, it was quite an eye-opener doing the animal feeding, deployment with Aries. How many people had no accommodations for transporting their pets? Number of horse owners that have no trailer at all. They relied on others, and that's their plan. And that's a personal grudge that I have, with people. Some people going, you don't own pets if you can't,
Yeah.
take care of them, but that's a personal bias on my part. It's hard for me to get over that one because,
Your horses be your evacuation vehicles?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. But
Not likely, though.
one of the calls that animal services got is this lady over in Zayani called, and she had 200 chickens and she had no way to evacuate them and was demanding, and yet, and she was trying to get in front of the line ahead of the Boulder Creekers, that were actively in the fire threat, that she wanted her chickens taken care of. And I was like, you kind of need to have a plan for those things. They had no way to deal with it.
200?
200. Yeah. I'm going, isn't there a regulation on how many you can have?
Depends how far away you are from everybody.
Yeah.
But,
Zayani scares me because, the ingress and egress is limited. So,
yeah.
Years ago, Lynn, some of you may remember that the equine evac point person was Lynn Hood, and she was talking about fires, the summit fires, 2008, 2009. And after that, she repeatedly brought up the issue of between that and weather changes and deteriorating roads, she was suggesting that you ought to look long and hard about sheltering even your larger animals in place. Because if you're trying to get down a one-lane road that's your only egress with your horse trailer, and somebody's coming up the road for whatever reason, could be your neighbors, could be a fire engine, everybody's going to get stuck. And Joe Marie, do you have any updates on that as to what the current thinking on that is, sheltering in place versus evacuation?
I think it really is disaster specific.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think it's a mixture of both. I know Equine Evac has said that at times as well. But they've been doing a lot of campaigns of trying to get people who own these large animals to register them so and have a plan themselves, more like, kind of like what we're talking about tonight, but really, having a strong plan for the horse, the horses, the llamas, the alpacas and goats, and it's quite phenomenal what comes out of the woodwork in this county, when time comes. It was quite a variety of menagerie,
And did most of them end up at the Watsonville Fairgrounds? Or do you
No,
know?
they were spread far and wide. I think the highest proportion obviously went to the showgrounds, but that was short-lived because once they figured out that this fire was moving fast and furious, they were instructed to shut down and transport everything back down to Watsonville. So
let's shift topic. So I have my go bag sitting here. If I'm the only one who brought a go bag, then it'll be me. I wanted to dive into this thing, shall we? Just you can humor me or ridicule me for whatever I got in my go bag, but let's see, because it's been a while.
Do I see cobwebs?
Oh yeah, there's cobwebs.
I do have a comment to make while you're digging in there.
Yeah.
When I looked at my go bag when we had to evacuate, I opened it up to make sure everything was there, and I realized I had outgrown all my clothes. My shoes no longer fit. Most of the stuff in the go bag was for camping, and it was all totally inappropriate to where we were going to go. So I ended up just leaving it behind, repacking with stuff I would need to have at a friend's apartment, basically. So you need to really review your go bags probably every season.
I was going to say seasonal because, if I went with my go bag, I've got winter stuff in there, and for whatever the degrees was for last year, it was, high 90s for many days long. I would have been quite uncomfortable.
Right. Well,
and embarrassing myself because I would have probably taken off the clothes.
Such good points. So my bag is definitely not full. I've got at least almost half of it is empty air. And based on what you just said, and prior conversations, some of you know, I love 3x5 cards. Write stuff down. So here I've taken a 3x5 card, and I'm going to make myself a card that I just titled "Add." So for example, I can tell right away I don't have a heavy jacket in this bag. So but you're right. I was probably thinking, oh, summertime evacuation. Who needs a heavy jacket? But wintertime, totally different situation, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this list. I'm gonna put it in my bag. So if I open the bag, that'll be one of the first things I see is, what did I not put in this bag that I want to give myself a hint? Like, am I gonna need a jacket? Oh yeah, I will put it in the bag. So I've got, looks like I have.
Well, and just remind you, that reminds me that at times of stress, you get very tunnel vision and you can't think logically. You would think, oh, I'll never forget that. I'll always get the jacket. Not a problem. But you get such tunnel vision. That's, our bodies are made that way. And so, yeah, the reminder lists are a good idea.
Yeah. So I've got some small bags of stuff. Here's just for whatever reason, my little bag. I've got some cotton swabs, some flossers, some lens cleaning tissues. Interesting choice of stuff. I've got a little bag of feminine products, just already packed, ready to go. For some reason, I have a huge number of cotton swabs, but hey, if they're in their own little package, so no harm, no foul. Looks like I've got a bag already packed with socks, underwear, brassieres, just a few changes so that I don't have to. I've already chosen them, but
And you got it in a bag that is for dirty laundry.
It's a dirty laundry bag, so it'll double as the dirty laundry bag when that time comes.
Those things are wonderful for storage of so many things. Yeah,
right?
Lingerie bags and gallon-sized Ziploc bags. I have some of those in every bag I've got going.
Yeah, the ability to see through a bag, the fact that something of similar items are packed in a bag and they're zipped closed, so you can just handle them quickly is good. Here's a bag that is not see-through, and it's got a number of clanky things. What is in here?
Spiders.
For some reason, I have a harmonica. Guess I must have thought I'd entertain myself or others with that. Okay. That's hilarious.
Scare away wild animals.
I was going to say.
I've got an old pair of sunglasses. That's where that went. I've got some carabiners. I love those. They're handy. This is one of these little shopping bags. It comes in its own bag, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. A couple of those. I've got one of these cool pocket tools.
Mm-hmm.
You can like cut things, open a bottle cap, measure something that's a few inches long.
Screwdriver.
Good thing to get right, a built-in screwdriver. I have a little notebook, some pens. I have a solar-powered LED flashlight, some fancy things somebody got for me. In the kit it goes. So I guess this is a little multi-purpose bag that's just to keep stuff from flying around in my bag. Looks like I got one of these travel size Tides in a Ziploc bag and some wipes. I've got some gloves. I've got one of those instant hand warmers.
Check the expiration date though.
On a hand warmer?
Because I had found that that's one of the few items where the expiration date is meaningful, because I found the hardware that after the expiration date, they'll just sort of get warm, which is too bad. So
right.
When I was looking at my bag tonight, I had some that had expired at 19, and then some that I had obviously put in recently because they don't expire till 23.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Thank you for that.
It's also a good thing to not buy a lot of them if you with the idea of like,
right,
because they are going to go bad.
Mm-hmm. Looks like I've got kind of a lightweight camp shirt, a pair of like leggings that could be worn regular or maybe under a pair of pants. I've got I have a warm layer. This is a thick polyester long sleeve that I know works really great if the temperature does get cold. So it's for layering. I do have a pair of shorts and an old pair of jeans. I ought to try those on because who knows.
Yeah, after
You
COVID,
know, right.
yeah, I was
That's
thinking the same
right.
thing. I bet.
Since COVID, oh my. Looks like I made myself a little bit of a kit with, a little bit of lotion, a contact lens kit, and a tiny bit of saline. It's just a Ziploc baggie size of Band-Aids and some ointment, a comb, little bottle of Tylenol, 8-hour, so I've got kind of just the emergency. What do I got to do
So
if
if
I,
that eye lubricant for your contacts, that
yeah,
expires too.
okay,
Yeah.
So,
good to know,
and
yeah.
you can get real bad infections if you don't.
Or it just irritates your eyes.
Right.
Right, yeah,
If nothing.
yeah.
I wanted to make a comment about shampoos and air conditioners and things like that. Get travel size bottles, because if you throw all the big stuff in there, it's going to consume a lot of space, and it just can create a mess if something
Oh.
gets spilled.
Tracy
So
probably has an unlimited availability of small bottles of shampoo and conditioner.
yes.
Not for the last year. She's probably used them all up.
One thing I really like is that you have a largish bag, but it is not full, and it looks like you have started your go bag with stuff you'll need wherever you go, whenever you go, regardless of season or location. Like you've got your socks, your underwear, your toiletries, t-shirts, jeans, an extra pair of shoes, and then because there's still room in there when you're getting to your 4-hour, your 30-minute, your 15-minute, you can just stuff right in there, and you've got the bag, you've got the space. You can just that hurried last minute stuff you can just shove in there with all your other stuff,
Right,
and not have to worry
I
about.
think that is key, yeah, because I'm not going
That's
to run
good.
out of space and then panic and be running around looking for yet another bag and then just dealing with yet another bag, yeah. And of course this has, some external pockets too that are available.
Is that an expandable bag? It looks like it has zippers on the side, or it
This
has some
one-
kind of framework.
This one's not, but this bag is interesting because it's a hybrid backpack roller bag. It's sort of like soft luggage. It's got a little bit of firmness on the side. It has handles that are like luggage. It actually sits upright, and it has here's a wheel. So it actually has 2 rolling wheels like luggage does. And my husband and I had this long conversation about this bag, or what would make a good bag. This bag also has in it basically a whole internal frame, and it can be worn. And this was our big argument, which is that what if we had to be on foot and had to leave? Then we'd want something that has a backpack. Although I have to tell you, I'm not going to be able to go very far if I'm having to wear a heavy backpack. But if my husband's willing to wear my go bag on his back, he's welcome to. But the compromise was it had to have wheels, so we found one that has both. So I can wheel the bag. I can wheel a bag anywhere. But so yeah, we had an interesting time trying to negotiate the space of what would make a good bag. I mean, and honestly, we probably much too fussy, to points others have made.
Is
Getting
that
an extra bag.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, sure.
Practice makes perfect. And I'm wondering if, for my go bag kind of idea, I would like to get into a game where I could pack for the weekend in 15 minutes and then have to live out of it for the rest of the weekend. And that's the kind of thing where you find out what you forgot and, learn from the experience of actually doing the fast packing. So I'm a little concerned about all the expiration dates and things like that. So what I have is, I'm calling it Cert Bag 2, which has the PPE and the tools that I might need if I had to, claw my way out of here. But then, when the weekend comes, I try to make it a point, hey, what can I pack in 15 minutes and try to make it. My wife packs a week in advance. But as part of my evacuation practice, I'm trying to learn how to pack fast.
I like that. Yeah, because of course you can learn your lessons quickly.
Indeed.
Very cool.
So one thing I didn't see was like a raincoat or a, one of those cheap plastic.
Like a rain poncho or something. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a very good point, because I did acquire a jacket and pants kit this last year, but it's downstairs in a bin, so it hasn't made its way into this yet.
Did you have a flashlight?
No,
Yes.
and that's really
No
good
flash.
too.
Well, you did.
That would be one of those things where it's so funny, because I'm sitting right next to I have this little 3-drawer organizer that's next to me every single day as I'm doing my job. And in it, I have my headlamps and organizers and a bunch of stuff I'd want to grab. So yeah, I mean, I think I need another system, and maybe maybe I need to store some spares in here, or I have to have stuff that's pre-bagged that I can just grab and stuff.
I love headlamps. I think they're fabulous invention.
Yes. Jim and Margaret were suggesting to get in the mood or get proficient at this, go car camping once a month.
There you go.
As a great way to practice. So
Nice.
If you pack about 3 or 4 big black trash bags, those giant ones, they can be a raincoat, they can be your laundry bag, they can be a tarp for underneath your sleeping bag if you're really pressed for where to sleep. You could probably make an impromptu shelter out of it as well.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point, and I usually do that as part of my family camping kit. Is I have a Ziploc bag full of bags, so it has some kitchen trash bag sizes. It usually has at least one big, yard waste black trash bag. And it's got a bunch of other different size Ziploc bags, and it's all in a Ziploc bag. So it's the bag of bags. If you need a bag for something, you just go find, it's in the kit. You just go get it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Liz? Anything else that comes off of your evac list there that would be something else we haven't spoken of this evening?
well, as someone who has hearing challenges and a variety of medical issues, you need to really think about, do you have your glucometer? Do you have your hearing aids? Is there anything related to that you need to take with you? Are there, do you have batteries for those things? Again, it depends depending on how long you're going to be gone. But those are, fortunately, they're small things that you can shove in almost anywhere. But when you have, pardon me, if you have sleep apnea, then you need to think about your
Equipment.
CPAP.
So, and I know there's several people on this call that have those, and it's you can get by without it, but you don't want to do that for a long time. So some people can't I mean, that's part of the thing with the PSPS is that people without power that have any kind of medical equipment need to prepare for that. When we've been tabling, it's been amazing to me the number of people that will pop by and say, I'll talk about, your go list or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, I'm going to have somebody else come save me. And it's like, okay. There's a woman in Ben Lomond that said that to me. I'm going to have one of these good looking young firefighters come save me. And she was moving with a walker. And I thought,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, I politely tried to disavow her of that fantasy, but I kept it short. I knew I was wasting my breath, but that's what's wonderful about things like this is we can pop up with lots of different ideas about how we individually can save ourselves. And this is just an extension of that. I think because we've both recently been, meaning a year ago, been in this condition. Well, also we had with the debris flow issues where we had evacuations around that. You just don't know what it's going to be around here or anywhere for that matter. But
All right, well, let's wrap this up. We're at just about the top of the hour. So I hope you all found this to be interesting and entertaining at my expense. You're very welcome.
Well, Tammy, I
Oh, yeah.
did find something in my grab and go bag that I got out just because it was kind of unusual.
Sure.
And let me, here we go. It's this, let's see, we're going to get that in focus.
Oh, I know what that is.
Yeah, so that is, come on. I guess I should have turned my blur back.
If you turn it, if you hold it up to your chest, we'll be in focus because it's next to you.
Right in your face, right there.
But anyway, yeah. What this is that for businesses, they don't, for their external faucets, they don't leave the handles on them because somebody will come along and turn them on.
Yep.
Just as a prank or for vandalism, or somebody will just steal large amounts of water. But anyway, these are what you use to turn that water on. So, this is certainly the idea is you have this in your backpack when you're have to walk long distances and you're looking for sources of water. But still, I think it's a useful thing to have. It would be kind of, terrible to be in a situation where there's water everywhere, but you just really don't have any easy way to turn it on. So, and this is pretty cheap.
Yeah, I'd have to say.
There's a bazillion of them available.
Urban survival tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Where's the fountains these days? I haven't seen one in years.
No, this would be for the gardener to hook up their hose to, but they don't leave the connection on.
Yeah.
And I'll put this in the chat for Amazon.
I have something related to that in my go bag. That's it's a water bottle with a filtration system.
Oh yes.
So if you can use it as a straw, either take the inside out and use it as a straw, or suck it, put water from a lake or creek in here and suck it out of the top. So that's also something, if you're stranded somewhere and you don't have a water source, be helpful.
And I took my I don't know, I forgot the brand name, but it's a Life Straw or whatever,
Yeah.
with me when I went to Mexico last week. I didn't need it, but I thought if I had to, drink the water,
There you go.
it was going to try and save me from any protozoa.
Yeah. The straws are pretty lightweight and compact, and that's
Yeah,
a good thing.
exactly.
So I had one more thing, a reminder for everybody that was at the CERT meeting. I think I mentioned these lithium batteries.
Right.
So they do not leak, and they last, if you don't use them, they last for like 20 years. So it's a good idea to get some of these. If you're going to store your flashlight in your Go kit for any length of time, use
Right.
these.
Okay.
Okay.
Are they like regular batteries? I mean, when you see them in the store, or how, what do they,
Oh,
what makes them
Lith-
different when you go shopping?
Lithium.
They're not as common, but they are available, and I've actually used them in radios and flashlight, even though they're not meant for high current applications. But I've used them anyway, and they've worked.
Yeah. And they're
Recently,
lighter weight. They're
Yeah.
lighter weight than normal batteries.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I did
Yeah.
search for those recently after hearing about them. I went to CVS, could not find them. I did
Wow.
find them at Home Depot, but I had to look carefully in their battery display. I had to look for that word lithium because there's lots of, marketing on batteries that say like, lasts forever, sort of basic stuff, right? You're like, is this what I'm supposed to use? Wait a minute. No, I have to look for that word lithium. And they are a bit more expensive than a regular battery of the same size. But I am so tired of having the battery compartments in flashlights in particular become all corroded and gummed up and trash what should have been a really good flashlight. So I'm converting over all of our headlamps and flashlights, and
Yeah.
Are they rechargeable?
no.
No, but you can get headlamps with rechargeable lithiums in them too.
Rechargeable lithiums.
Yeah.
So they come in the regular sizes like A's and double A's and
This one's
B's and
not.
C's.
It's a 18650, which describes pretty much the dimensions of the battery.
But yes,
So Dan, did that
otherwise,
come?
these other lithium batteries, you can get them in a AAA, double
Yeah.
A size
Mhm.
batteries. Yeah.
For the non-rechargeables.
Mhm.
Part of why batteries leak too is if you put two batteries in a device that have a different state of charge, the one that is more charged will try and reverse charge the one that has less charge. And that can build up pressure inside and cause it to leak. So that's why when they tell you to, always use fresh batteries or even batteries of the same manufacturer and, whatever claims they make, use the same one. So as they discharge, you don't have one that's, like I said, ends up with a higher state of discharge.
So you don't want to mix your old batteries and your new batteries?
Well, that would be the extreme case.
Okay. All right.
But, that's also doesn't address the fact that just having them sit in a flashlight, they'll just unused, they'll still leak. This unequal discharge has to be when you're using the device.
Educational, very educational. Thank you all.
Very good. All right. With that, let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for being here this evening. Really appreciate it.